clip. Okay, Rich,
Actually, can you check her clip? Hey, this is Rich. Test, get ready.
And Alyssa,
Okay, test 1, 2, 3. How do I sound?
All right, keep down, project when you talk.
Okay,
One more time.
I'm very tired and therefore I'm soft.
We're going. Good morning. This is a Hurricane Matthew update, part of our ongoing coverage here of the storm at the Orlando Sentinel. Today alongside me, I have breaking news reporter Alyssa Cherney, and I have our social media reporter Jessica Gillespie, who is on her computer and taking live questions. So if you have any questions right now, please be sure to send them in, and we will do our best to answer it. And if it's Alyssa, it looks like the storm has weakened. Tell us where it is and what people can expect at this point.
Yeah, so if you're just waking up right now and checking out the headlines, the biggest thing that you'll see for our area is that we may be lucking out. It looks like the storm is going to stay on the coast. It's not going to come too far inland as we had previously thought. So according to the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, it is currently a Category 3 storm, so it weakened from Category 4.
Okay.
The winds are about 120 miles per hour at peak levels, and it's located, the eye of the hurricane is currently at about 35 miles northeast of Cape Canaveral,
Okay.
and 45 miles east-southeast of Daytona Beach.
Okay.
And it's expected to stay at a hurricane Category 3 level and hug the coast for most of the day.
Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and talk about the county by county at this point. Brevard, I know originally was actually in the site of this storm, but has that changed? It seems like it's kind of moved a little bit further up to Volusia, correct?
Yeah, Brevard and Volusia are probably going to be among the hardest hit areas. So we know that the peak wind gust recorded was at the Naval Center in Cape Canaveral,
Okay.
and that was at 107 miles per hour.
Okay.
And we've gotten reports from there that roofs are flying off certain homes, downed trees, a lot of power outages. Even one of our reporters who's in emergency operations center said that the HER center lost power.
Okay.
So Volusia and Brevard are the most at risk for severe damage.
Okay, so still a pretty big storm, still working its way
Yeah.
along the coast in Florida right now.
Yeah, and they're closest to it, so they are getting hurricane level winds. Here, more inland in Central Florida, which is, typically Orange County, Seminole Lake,
Right.
we're not really getting those hurricane level ones. We may experience tropical storm level winds.
Yeah, okay. Well, speaking of those inward counties, here in Orange County, I know that wind has come down. We have Kayla O'Brien out here in Orlando, and we're going to go ahead and try to patch into her live and just get an update on her and just how conditions are. There she is. Hi, Kayla. How are you? Hey,
Hi, good.
to see
Hi,
you.
Rich. I'm here at Lake Eola. Can you hear me? It's a little bit windy outside and pretty rainy, but not as bad as we were expecting. My cameraman Andrew Gibson and I were driving down the street, and there's some branches down, some tree limbs that have fallen, but overall not too much damage. As you can see behind me, the lake is pretty choppy. If you've been to Lake Eola, this is one of the biggest areas in the downtown. It's pretty bad, but not torrential rain or anything flooding over. The swans are still here. The ducks are kind of hanging out over there. And if you pan over there, Andrew, you can see there's a palm frond that fell over, but that's about it. That's as far of the damage that we've seen in the downtown area. Not many cars on the road right now. It was us and a couple policemen driving by. But other than that, it's pretty quiet. Most of the residents are inside. The businesses are boarded up and shut down, so not too much action. Just not a great day to be outside.
It looks like, Kayla, while you said it's not somewhere you actually want to be, but it doesn't seem like much more than, say, a typical rainy, like a really bad rainstorm that we'd get here in Central Florida. Would you say that's the case right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been outside in the summertime, afternoon when it's a little bit rainy and it's about like this. You don't want to go outside and do any activities, but I don't feel right now as if I'm in danger. But it's not so much the case on the coast from what I've been hearing. But in the downtown Orange County area, we're not seeing too much severe weather, just like a really bad storm. The gusts are pretty high. Nothing that will blow over our equipment or ourselves or our cars. But if you had an umbrella, I'm sure that wouldn't last too long out here.
As you said, have you come across anyone while you're out there at this point?
No, I mean, we've been here for about 30 minutes or so. We took a trip down Orange, and we didn't see anybody. I saw one person on a bicycle, but I think he was a cop looking twice. So, yeah, we really haven't seen anybody. Everyone's pretty much bunkered down right now. No one at the park. Tons of swans, though, like I said. They are just hanging out as if nothing is going on, just relaxing on this wet Friday morning.
Thank you for checking in. Be safe out there. I know you'll be checking in with us later throughout the day as you're out and about, so I appreciate that. Be safe. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and check in with Jessica Gillespie here. Jessica, we are monitoring the Facebook feeds, our Twitter feeds, and anything we need to add in here?
We've got a question about curfews, so I've got answers about that. They are still going on, and there's different curfews for different counties. Right now, Orange County is still under its curfew. It started at 10 p.m. yesterday, and it's still set to end 7 a.m. tomorrow, Saturday. This excludes emergency personnel and those who have to go to and from work.
Okay.
So if you have to work today, check with your bosses, check with your people you work with to make sure you're supposed to go in before you hit the roads today, because we are still under a curfew.
Yeah.
Because there's still those big winds coming through.
Right.
In gusts. So in Seminole County, the curfew, also in Volusia, they all end 7 a.m. Saturday.
Okay, so right now, curfew's still in place, just as the storm continues to make its way through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's still going on. And now remember, in our stories also, and from the National Hurricane Center, we've been told that, especially this Orlando area hasn't gotten its strongest winds yet. We're expecting those conditions later today.
Okay.
So you might think it seems like just a rainstorm, but you don't want to be out there in your car or walking around and have that big gust come along and kind of knock you around the road. So you just need to be cautious and careful. This still is a Category 3 hurricane that is coming through.
Absolutely. Still a big storm. Alyssa, let's go ahead and talk about some of those other counties. I know we were just with Kayla, who is in Orange County here in Orlando. How about Seminole, Osceola, Lake? Let's go ahead and touch base on them. How about Seminole? What are they expecting at this point?
Well, actually, Sanford recorded some of the highest rainfall totals in the entire state. In just a couple of hours last night, the Sanford Airport collected 5.87 inches of rain.
Okay.
And they are currently under a flood watch. So is Lake County.
Okay.
And a particular portion that's at risk is the Astor area, which is near the St. Johns River.
Okay.
And the concern there is that the influx of rain will cause the water beds to rise and flood onto the banks.
Yeah.
And so basically anywhere that's located near a body of water, you should be careful.
Okay, all right, but so there is still that concern of flooding as more and more rain dumps on the area.
Absolutely.
As far as with that flooding, I know many times the storm surge is a big issue. Has there been any reports about that storm surge yet as of right now?
Yeah, there's been some reports. The estimates are putting it anywhere from 7 to 11 inches on the coast. That's where it's going to be the most extreme, and the projections show that it follows the coast all the way up through Georgia and the South Carolinas as well.
All right. Well, that as far as what we were getting before, when it was on the path of actually going into land, say it's brushing the coast, it seems like that's a lot less. So I mean, they were talking maybe about 6 foot. So it seems like this moving east has been a huge benefit to all of us here in Central Florida as that hurricane has moved off the coast.
Just yesterday, the cone of uncertainty, which is kind of the projection they make of where the eye of the storm is going to travel, actually included the Orlando area, which is pretty unprecedented for a hurricane to come that far inland. So a lot of people are just chalking it up really to luck. And are pretty thankful this morning.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. So just for those tuning in, this is a live update. Hurricane Matthew, it has weakened overnight and in the early morning hours. It is a Category 3 right now, and it remains off the coast. It hasn't quite made landfall, and it's still going to continue out on that track right now, which has been a benefit to us here in the area. We're still checking in right now with Alyssa about updates on the storm. I want to go ahead and talk about power outages. That has been a huge issue. It seems like, if anything, that's kind of the nuisance of a storm of this issue, of this size right now. And since, where are we at with power outages?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us have been braced for the power outages. I know Governor Scott was warning about this all of yesterday and the day before. We know that in our area, the Central Florida area, particularly Metro Orlando, we've got about 220,000 people without power. That number is growing, though. So we're getting more reports reports more trees are falling down,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I believe statewide it's over 500,000.
Okay.
Again, most of the effects are being felt to the most extreme level on the coast, so the
Okay.
numbers are much higher there.
Okay. So, but Jessica mentioned that Orlando hasn't quite felt the full effect of the storm. There's
Yes.
still more to come, correct? Is that as of
Yeah.
right now? There could be more hurricane or not
Yeah.
hurricane type conditions, but a little bit more gusts, a little bit more wind.
Absolutely. So the forecasters that I talked to at the National Weather Service in Melbourne told me that up until noon today, we can expect to feel the full effects of the storm.
Okay.
That's when we're really going to be hit with some of the most powerful winds up
Okay.
through noon. And they also told me that it looks like the gusts here could get as high as about 55 miles per hour.
Okay.
And, be anywhere from 30 to 45 miles per hour.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop over here with you, Jessica. Anything else coming in? Any questions that need to be answered at this point?
We've had a few questions on if there's any news on Hurricane Nicole and if this is affecting. So
Yeah.
Hurricane Nicole is a Category 2. And it's moving at about 100 or its maximum sustained winds of about 100 miles per hour. And it's moving, it's still out where it was, in the Atlantics. But do we know if it's affecting Hurricane Matthew at all?
My understanding is that there's no interaction between the two storms. It's not like fusing more power or
Right.
anything like that. They're pretty far apart. But so far, what we see is that it looks like the storm, Hurricane Nicole, is going to continue to weaken. Right now, it's not expected to have any direct impact on us, but it's a little too soon to say.
Okay, all right. Jessica, how about some of those interesting stories that we have coming in? Do you have anything of that nature right now?
We've got some older stories on our site from
Okay.
overnight and last night, but this morning, Jeff Wiener, one of our reporters, is out at the Emergency Operations Center in
Okay.
Orlando, and he said that they're talking a lot about power outages in the area,
Yeah.
which we've touched on. We've got a separate story on that if you're looking for information about area by area. Police Chief John Mina did show up this morning at the EOC a little bit after 6:30, and he said the roads are empty, which is good. That means
Yeah.
that everybody's abiding by the curfew and staying indoors and safe. But the priority is to keep those roadways clear, is
Okay.
what Chief Mina is saying, so the emergency vehicles can get up and down the roads safely while this storm is getting more dangerous
Yeah.
with the winds. So that's what's going on. We've got a lot of reporters out heading out in the field right now. We've got Stephanie Allen up in Daytona,
Yeah.
and she's going to try to Facebook Live from the EOC up there in
Okay.
Volusia County soon
Okay.
from the Orlando Sentinel page. So we should get some updates probably within the next hour about what it's looking like over there in Volusia.
Okay,
so
we'll certainly keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I know you mentioned talking about John Mina mentioned curfews, and it seems like, Alyssa, there have been some issues that not necessarily here. Well, actually, it looks like here in Orange as well. Talk about some of those. It seems like kind of an unfortunate thing that happens with a storm like this.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know too much about those reports right now,
Okay.
but we do know that 2 people were arrested in Orange County for being out past curfew and doing something. We don't know exactly what,
Yeah.
but they do face stricter penalties because there was a state of emergency declared.
Okay.
And then we also know of a break-in in Sanford.
Okay.
And in that case, some people broke into a Dollar General store.
Okay.
But the police made a joke about how, while some people were kind of loading up on supplies, this is not how they recommended doing
Okay.
so.
All right. Okay.
So,
All right. At least they're staying light within
Yes.
the situation,
Yes.
given how heavy this storm has been on a lot of us.
exactly.
So, okay, well, let's talk a little bit. We mentioned Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
How about Matthew? Matthew's kind of had that strange path of showing it looping around, and I know after this first hit, we're thinking, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
Where's this Matthew? Does it look like looping around? What is the condition if that happens?
Yeah, there was a little bit of like hysteria around some of the spaghetti models, I guess,
Yeah.
that had portrayed Matthew coming around and possibly hitting our area again.
Yeah.
That trajectory is possible, but it's going to be so far out into the Atlantic Ocean and so weak at that point as a storm, probably just a tropical storm, that we're not going to really feel major effects. So for now, that fear kind of seems to be eased by the meteorologists. they're not really expecting anything too major to come from that.
Okay, well, that's great news. Well, thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate it. Just want to recap, this was a live update. Hurricane Matthew has weakened overnight and in the early morning to a Category 3. As of right now, it is off the coast, 35 miles off the coast right now, and it has remained there. So some conditions are still expected, but it's still a severe storm, so please keep an eye out on it, and please stay safe. For Orlando Sentinel, I'm Rich Pope.